Hello, guys. Welcome back to God, Family, and Trapping. This is a podcast I used to do a while back, and we've not had an episode in about a year. And I do apologize for that. I'm looking at getting it started back up. So I'm going to be doing a quick episode today, and we'll just kind of, give you guys an update on how things have been going, all the things that we got planned, and all the opportunities coming to us and what we plan on doing with this podcast in the future, going forwards. So I'm super excited with all the things that we got going on and planned and opportunities. God's been blessing me a lot here lately, and I don't take that for granted. And I've there for about 2 years. I got pretty sick, and I was trying to do this podcast during that time, and I just kind of got to where I wasn't having the time to do it the way I wanted to do it. So I kind of got out of it, and for that I do apologize. But like I said, I'm going to be starting it back up. This is going to be the first episode since coming back, and I'm going to be trying to do an episode a week. Whether that is me doing it from the convention, doing it from the house. Right now, I'm kind of here in my store/lure shed. I got a couple banners hung up there. I'm going to be working on getting an actual place for my podcast and getting it set up. Right now I'm recording on my phone so I can post this to YouTube, and then I'm recording also on a podcast app that can post it onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those things for me as well. So I'm super excited for everything coming forward. I do want to leave this open if you guys ever have any questions or maybe some different subjects you'd like me to talk about on the podcast. Just, you can send me a message on Facebook or anything like that at Blakely's Trapping. And I'll see what I can do about bringing your question or subject or whatever to the podcast. I do hope on possibly having some guests and stuff on the podcast in the future. And, I'm a pretty open person. I don't like to stick to one thing and just stay on that path. I like to kind of branch out and just let what happens happen. I'm not in control of my life. I'm allowing God to control it, and whatever He puts in my path, I'm going to be open to take that path and do what He's calling me to do. And the update about my life has a lot to do with that right there. We've already done 5 conventions this year. We started off with I think we went to the Texas convention, and then we went to Beaverfest up in Iowa, and we went to the NTA in Indiana, the FTA in Macon, Missouri, and we got back from Michigan about a week ago. It's been awesome. Those conventions have been awesome. You can tell that people are paying attention to the fur market because there's been a lot of positive things said about the fur market and how a lot of things are moving up, the value of furs going up. And, going to the conventions, you can see that. There's a lot more people that have been coming to them. They've been, walking around, and about everybody I see has got bags of stuff they bought at different booths. So you can just see that people are really getting excited about what the fur market might bring this season. I do know that they're calling for mink to go way up, so a lot of people have been asking for mink-specific things like traps and lure and bait and stuff like that. So, it's cool to see those things, be able to go to the conventions and actually see firsthand how people are reacting to all of this. I find it very cool and very interesting. I've never been somebody that's paid too much attention to the fur market as far as my trapping goes, because I don't really, as you could say, sell fur. I've got most of it here. I give a lot of it away to people. I've had local people that they want like a raccoon or something that they can, skin and whatnot, and I'll just kind of give it to them because I'm not trying to make money. That's not why I'm trapping. That's not why I go out and trap coyotes and raccoons and all that, is to try to sell the fur and make money. I do it because I genuinely love trapping. I like being able to help people manage their land, go out on the farms and help with all these things. And there's been a lot of like trapping clinics that here locally that I've given raccoons and skunks and whatever to them whole frozen for them to do little classes and skinning things. So That's what I usually do with a lot of my fur. Uh, I have traded a lot of it to some people that have tan fur for me, where I'll just send a lot of my fur to them, and they'll kind of add up what I've sent and how much, and I'll use that as the trade to get different furs and stuff tan, ones that I want to keep. So that's pretty cool. I do have an otter that I actually just shipped out yesterday to a taxidermist that's going to see about getting it, doing a body mount on it. I'm not one that's too big on spending money on things like that, but this was an opportunity that came, and it's going to be at a really good discount. So I decided to go ahead and do it and just see what happens. Why not? Uh, Hopefully that shipping doesn't mess up the animal. Hopefully it shows up in a good amount of time to where it's still usable. I have lost some fur before shipping it, so hopefully that don't happen again. But it's one of those things, if it does, it does. I mean, there's not much I can do about it. Once I ship it, it's kind of out of my hands, so it is what it is. But anyway, I wanted to get on here. Like I said, we're going to get the podcast started back up. I'm going to try my best to get an episode a week, or at least an episode every other week. And, maybe I'll have you guys can send me in subjects or things you'd like me to talk about, whether that's trapping, faith related, church, God, anything like that. It's one of those ways to kind of challenge myself as well, to be prepared to bring these things to you guys. And I do hope that maybe we could have some guests on the podcast as well. Maybe some names and faces and maybe some you don't. It's, to me, it's not all about trying to get the big names on here just to try to get views. That's not what I'm doing this for. I want to be able to provide and offer something a little different than a lot of people do. And one of the big goals that I've made with my business, my trapping business, is of course trapping, and that's given me the door into many people's lives and their homes and stuff like that. But I want to use the trapping also to share God with people, to be able to share the gospel and bring it to them. That's something I felt that I've been called to do, and that's something I really focus on. And I tell people that there's probably quite a few people that maybe they don't go to church, they don't read the Bible, they're not praying, they don't talk to their friends and stuff that go to church or anything like that. But maybe they like to watch my videos every now and then. And if, they tune into a 90-second video that, the first 60 to 70 seconds of it is talking about trapping, and then the last 20, 30 seconds is talking about God, that might be the only 20 or 30 seconds they get that week, that day, that month. And if them watching my trapping videos is what gets them to want to listen to God, then it's all worth it to me. If that can help one person in their life, then it's completely worth it to me. I could do this for 30 years, and if it helps one person, it's worth it to me. I do get a lot of I'm not gonna say backlash from people, but do backlash. People telling me that I should quit talking about God, that they love my trapping content, but if I would quit talking about God, that my business would do better, I'd get more views, this and that. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm not talking about God trying to get people's attention to where they support my business, stuff like that. That has nothing to do with it. My business could crash and I not have a business anymore, and I'm still going to share God with people. I've seen what God's done in my life, and I want to be able to share that with other people. So that's kind of the direction that this podcast is going to be. It's a lot about trapping, because trapping is, again, it's a big part of my life. It's what my business is. It's how I make my living, and it's how I support my family. So a lot of it's going to be about trapping, and I'm also going to have a lot about God in here. I'm going to share God with people. So if you guys, if you like watching outdoor content, or you like listening about trapping, and there'll be more. I'm going to share hunting stories that I've had in the past, trapping stories, and all that stuff. it's not going to be one single subject that we'll be talking about on this podcast. It's kind of going to be probably something pretty different every week. I don't exactly know what I'll be talking about, but it's going to be generally about just things in life. As you know, the name of it, God, family, and trapping. God's first, family second, and whatever else you got is third. Your job, your house, your things you like to do, your hobbies. All that stuff is good to have, but if you don't have God first, then you're gonna have a hard time keeping the rest of that going the way you want it to. I've experienced that firsthand. I've had God, take things from me because I was not paying attention to Him. I was, paying attention to myself and my own worldly wants, and it didn't work out very well. I've learned the hard way, I guess you could say. But that's just kind of what I want to do. I'm going to share my story here and just kind of open it up for people. You can always message me, like on Facebook. Facebook's probably the best place to message me because I get those messages instantly and I usually can read them instantly. Emails usually something, it might be the very end of the day or every other day that I get to see those. So Facebook message is probably the best, either Blakely's Trapping, or you can go directly to my page, Jamie Blakely, and message me on there. If you ever just, need somebody to talk to, or you want to ask me a question, or maybe you do have a subject or something you'd like me to talk about here on the podcast, just let me know. Like I said, this first episode isn't going to be real long. It's going to be kind of opening the door back up, letting people know that I'm going to be getting it going again, and that's just kind of want to keep it, small, simple, and just kind of to the point. But I really do appreciate you guys. Like I said, we've already been to 5 conventions. I got, I think, 7 more I'm going to be going to. The next one's going to be Iowa and Charles City. We'll be going to that convention. Then we got, after Iowa, we got Oklahoma, Illinois, Missouri, Nebraska. We'll be going back up to Iowa for the Backwater Convention. We'll be going down to Louisiana. So we got a lot of good conventions planned. We're trying to get around and see as many people as we can. We got a lot of really good opportunities and stuff this season that I'm excited for. Different trapping trips and just things like that I'm super excited to be able to share with you guys. As long as the weather, cooperates. Last year we ran into a couple problems with the weather for the trips we'd made up to Iowa. But, it is what it is. It happens, and just kind of got to try to make the best out of what happens. So, anyways, like I said, reach out to me if you guys have any questions or topics or anything you'd like me to talk about. Again, this podcast is not going to be a certain, 30 minutes every week, an hour every week. It won't be a certain time frame. There'll be some that might only be 15 minutes long. There'll be some that might end up being an hour and a half. You just never know. It kind of depends on what God lays on my heart and, just the different subjects we want to talk about. Like I said, I've started a small store here at my house. Just actually got my last little shipment of things in yesterday. And, I've had quite a few local people that's asked me about having supplies available. Things like sifter break-in, need more anchors, just things like that. So, being able to finally get that going and here, I'm excited for. And we got a lot of really other cool opportunities. My website is blakelystrapping.com. If you guys want to get on there and check out anything I do. If you actually don't even know who I am, my name's Jamie Blakely. I probably should have started off with that. Like I said, I've not done an episode in quite a while, so I'm a little off. But my name's Jamie Blakely. I'm the owner of Blakely's Trapping. You can see my banner up there. I also own the Trapper's Pole. I do make and sell those. And also own Blakely's Baits and Lures, which is a line of trapping lures for anything, coyotes, fox, bobcat, raccoons, possum, groundhog, beaver, otter, anything you can think of. I got bait and lure for it. On my website, I have a sample kit you guys can get on there and buy. Comes with 6 different baits and lures in it, as well as like a lure knife, some Q-tips, some wool. That way you guys can, try out different baits and lures of mine, see which ones you like, see which ones you don't like. So you're not, if you don't want to buy a 16-ounce container, you can get, 2 different 8-ounce ones in there and see which one you like better, or if you don't like any of them, or if you like them both. That can be up to you, but I've thought that was a pretty good way to give people that option and see what they like. It's been pretty popular since I started doing it, so I'm happy with that. I've lots of good reviews on my baits and lures. Mad Slapper is a new lure that I've came out with this year. Actually worked on it quite a bit last year and last season. Had a lot of people, they've used it. I used it up in Iowa and had some really good reviews on it. So it's actually on my website now for sale. I've taken it to a couple conventions now, and I think it's going to be one of those, ones that people keep in their bags. It's a caster-based lure, but it's got some other oils and stuff in there that makes it, a little different, but it's a very strong one that I think, beaver just can't resist it. They want to go check it out. So I appreciate you guys. Like I said, you have any questions or you just want to talk, I'm always open. Just, head on over to Facebook, send me a message. If you don't have a Facebook, you can send me an email at blakelystrapping@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, and there's a contact form on my website as well that you can just fill out that, and it will come to me also. So I do appreciate you guys. I'm super excited to get this going again. I'm going to be getting ready to head out to church soon. It is Wednesday, so appreciate you guys. God bless you all. And don't forget, God's waiting to talk to you. Thank you, guys.